So here we are, ready to finish the final part of our amulet. You should have your 5 threads out at the side and have your 10 blocks of colour, a double green in the centre. If you found it useful to have the 10 sections marked, you could do that again on the side if you wish. Now last time we had our complete folded end at the bottom, but this time we need to work from that folded end down to the end that was open but is now bound by the threads. So this second part of the process is actually weaving the threads over and under each other, but we weave per block rather than per thread. So if we're going to start with red, as we did before. This is the stage where you definitely need a long needle. It isn't possible to do this part without a needle that is longer than the width of your amulet. So we're going to start by going under the block of red. For me, this is 6 threads. It might be 3, 4 or 5 for you. But under the block of red, making sure I haven't caught any of the white, and then take that all the way across to the other side. The first block can be a little bit awkward to get in exactly the right position. You want to leave that little gap again at that edge there. So that's under my first block and over all the others. Then I turn it over and do exactly the same on the other side. Under the first block of threads, careful not to catch a white, but careful not to miss a red. Under those, and then all the way across. This thread has a tendency to twist, which is not very helpful. And we push it up, make sure it's near enough to the top, and then we turn it over again. The first one, it's always worth really fiddling with and making sure you've got it in exactly the right place. Then I'm going to do exactly the same thing under the first one, over all the others, 5 more times, because I have 6 threads in my block of colour. So here I have woven my block of red, 6 threads on this side and 6 threads on that side. Check they're all completely next to each other, not overlapping in any way. And if you've got it correctly set out, you should have this nice little square at the corner. That should be a square shape. You then take the thread through the very centre and all the way out to the other side. Just check that that thread is nice and tight up to the others on the other side. So our next colour is white. So I'm going to bring the white up so it's right against the red there, and thread that onto my needle. The white is going to go under the red and under the white block. Careful not to catch the yellow. Pull that through as far as the needle, and then it's going to go over the white block at the far side but under the red. So under the red, under the white, and then over them all except the red at the end, and it goes over, goes under the red. Make sure you've got the red ahead of your work. You don't want to get the red caught behind there because you're going to need the red again. So always make sure that the threads you've taken through are ahead of your work. This twisting is a bit of a problem for the weaving stage. I've not used this thread before for making an amulet, and it's not exactly ideal for this stage. So make sure that that is tucked right up to the red. All the way along, and do the same on the other side. So under the white, the red and the white, over the white and under the red. And again, just push it up so that it's nice and tight against the red. And then you're going to do that for however many number of threads in your block once again. So now I'm doing my last, I've done my last thread of the white, so I'm now going to take it right through that center gap to join the red on the other side. And just tuck that up. Same number of threads each side, same pattern each side. I'm now going to pick up a yellow thread, the yellow we're going to take under the red, under the white, under the yellow. Make sure you only pick up the yellows, not any of the blue, and then over the yellow, under the white and the red. Again, make sure these are ahead of my work. it over, and the same the other side. Under the red, white and yellow, over the yellow, under the white and the red. Tuck that up nicely, close to the white. And you do that again for the number of threads in your block of colour. So I finished my block of yellow. I've got 6 on each side, and I'm just going to take that through the centre to join the red and the white on the other side. You're always taking this thread through the gap that is formed by the folding. You never want to pierce the paper. So if ever you experience more resistance than you should be, then take it back and check you're taking it through the right place, because you don't want to pierce the paper. Let's tuck that up to there. And check it's all nice and tight. Make sure those are ahead of my work, that I don't get them caught up behind the next block I weave. Keep them low. So the next colour is blue. Red, white, yellow, blue. And I would imagine you've picked up on the pattern now. Bring this up to the top. So we're going to go under the red, the white, the yellow and the blue, over the green, over the blue, and then under the yellow, white and red. So each time you're going over one block of that colour and under, sorry, the other way around, you're doing under one block of that colour and over the other block of that colour. I find all the different threads have their advantages and disadvantages. The plain cotton's very easy to use, but it gives rather a dull finish. There's no shine to it. The embroidery threads give a lovely shine, but they, because they're made up of a number of threads, they can have a tendency to get split, especially at this stage where you're picking up different threads. This one has a tendency to twist, and that leaves a little lump if you're not careful. But one of the nice things, well, two nice things about this thread is it has a lovely shine to it, and it's also slightly stretchy, so I can pull really quite tightly on it to get a nice tight finish to it. Just untwist it a little bit. And we do the other side. So under red, white, yellow and blue. And then over that blue, under the yellow, white and red. And you do that again for however many number of threads you have in your block of colour. Make sure it's nice and tight up to the others. Turn it back over and carry on. So I've done my block of blue, and I'm going to take that through the centre to join the others at the other side, just the same. Another nice thing about this thread is it does not split at all. It is completely solid as a single thread, so it's quite easy to pick up the individual threads as you're weaving. Whereas with embroidery thread, you can, as I say, you can tend to split them. So now the green, and the green is slightly different to the others, so this takes a little bit of care. Again, bring these down so that they're ahead of your work. It's the same pattern to begin with. Under the red, under the white, under the yellow, under the blue, and then under half your green. So the first block. So you'll have to count your threads here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pull my needle through. So it went under that. So then it's going over the rest of the green and then under all the other blocks. Pull that through. Tuck it up nice and tight to the blue. Turn it over and do the same the other side. Under the red, under the white, under the yellow, under the blue, under half of your green, so your block, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then over the rest of the green and under the blue, yellow, white and red. And again, you're going to do that for a single block. So for me that will be 6 threads. For you it could be 3, 4 or 5. However many you're having in your blocks of colour. Many apologies. I hope this isn't going to be too confusing for you, but something went wrong with the video and it didn't record the second part of doing the green. So I've quickly produced another amulet. This one is smaller and uses a different thread because it's rather important that you see how the next stage is done. So I hope this isn't going to be too confusing for you, that it's different thread and a different size. We'll jump back to the other one after this section of the video. But the only difference is that I have 4 threads per block on this instead of 6. So I've completed my first section of green. And from here on, the pattern of the weaving changes. So I'm going to go under the red, white and blue. And then I'm going to go over the first block of green and then under all the rest of the colours. Turn it over. Under the red, white, yellow and blue, then over the green, and then under the rest of the colours. Then I continue and do that. In the case of this amulet, for 4 threads, and in the main one that the main video is for, that will be 6 threads. So I've woven my 2 blocks of green, and you see you get this lovely little square overlapping effect in the centre. So it's worth doing that to get this nice effect. And you've got this nice effect of the corners by doing this over and under. Now I'm going to take this through the same as I have with the others, but of course I don't need the green anymore. We've finished our green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count off to the centre of this green and carefully bring my needle through to there. So there it is, emerging without having pierced the paper in the centre of my block of green stitches, 3 green threads. Catching my blue there, don't want to do that. Always keep your thread ahead of your work. So that needs tucking over. And then I'm going to take the green back through to the other side, again without carefully not piercing the paper. Doesn't really matter where it comes out. And I'm just going to leave a loop this side, a large loop, because that's what you're going to hang it from, and the other side I'm just going to leave that dangling for now. And then push those back up to where they should be and just tighten it up a little bit. So there you are, you've got your loop coming out of the top. And that's just spare. Don't worry about that at the moment, we'll deal with that later. So this time you want to keep the green trapped like that. But otherwise you're still keeping your threads ahead of your work. Now you could cut off the green. If you've got a really long bit left, you could cut off the green at this point. Any threads that I cut off, I don't just throw away in the rubbish, because these threads are imbued with mantra, so they're not rubbish. They need to be disposed of in a fire or buried or something like that. So now we're back with blue. Blue's the next colour, and we're going back down the line with blue. So here we went underneath the blue, so this time we're going to go over the blue. So it's under the red, white, yellow, over the blue, over both blocks of green, and then under all the rest. And the same on the other side. Again, don't forget that dangling end of green. You want it trapped this time, so don't worry about that sticking out there. You're going to tuck that in later. So we're going to go under the red, under the white, under the yellow, and over the blue, and then under the blue here and all the other colours. And as before, you do that with however many threads are in your block of colour. Now, if you wanted to, I often do this at the end, but you could do it at this stage. What I usually do is tie a decent sized knot, maybe a couple of times round in my end here. You want to have the loop the other side long enough if you want it to hang around somebody's neck, or if it's going to go in a room, hanging on the wall or something. So make a knot that's big enough it's not going to pull through the threads. So I am going to cut it now, but I'm going to leave a bit of a... So I will keep this spare bit of thread that I have left over and not just throw it in the rubbish. So now, before I carry on, I'm just going to tuck that away inside. You could pull it through, if you can find it. Pull it through and just let it get tucked inside. Pull it through a little bit more, and that will be secure. That won't come undone. And then I can do my blue up to the edge, and then just carry on working on my blue for my number of threads for my block of colour. So now I'm going to work on the yellow, and we went underneath with the yellow last time, so we're going to go over this time. So it's under the red, under the white, over the yellow, and then under all the others. Sorry, over the blue and under all the others. And the same the other side. Under the red, under the white, over the yellow, over the blue, and under the rest. Oops. Now you see I've caught a blue there, so that's a mistake. That's the sort of mistake you don't want to make. So just take that back and do that again without catching that blue thread. Tighten that up to there. And then I do that as before with my block of colour, the number of threads in my block. So I've finished weaving my yellow, 6 threads on each side. So now I'm going to take my yellow right through the centre, out the other side. And cut off that thread. I have quite a bit of thread left over, but for me it feels important that the amulets are made with a single thread, that we're not joining threads in. It feels part of the process of completion and precision to make sure that we have enough thread at the beginning to complete the whole process without having to join threads in. If I found that I'd made a mistake and I hadn't wound off enough thread, I would actually start again. I wouldn't carry on. Now this looks to me as though it's got a little bit skew-if. It's not quite even. I've got 2 more blocks of colour. But I'm going to carry on because you can push things across. It's a little bit fiddly to do that, but you can push things across, especially with this thread. Actually, this thread is very, very good for that because it doesn't split, that you can adjust it. So I'm just going to carry on. So the next colour is white. It gets easier and easier in terms of your threads as you go on because they don't tangle as much, as few of them, and they're not so long. So on the white, last time we went under, so this time we're going to go over. So under the red, over the white, over the yellow, all the colours including the far yellow, and then under the white and red at the end there. Tack that up. Under the red, over the white, over the yellow, and then under the white and red. And again, I do that for my block of 6 colours. So I've finished the white, taken that through and tucked it in. And now we're going to do our last colour, the red. So we're under last time, so this time we're going over that block, straight across and under the last block. Very simple, the red at the end. Turn it over and do the same again the other side. Over that block, across all the others, then under the last block. And as before, I will do that for my 6 threads for that block of colour. So I've woven my last thread of red, so now I need to tuck in the last bit of red to finish it off. Now this can be a little bit tricky because it's difficult to find the right fold at this stage because everything is so tightly bound. And what you don't want to do is cut the paper. So just keep gently taking it through until you're sure you've got it going through. There we are. When you've got it going through the right place, that it went through without any resistance, that is definitely the hole through the centre rather than going through making a hole in the paper. Doesn't matter where it comes out, you're only doing this just to finish it off. It's got caught on a thread. So we cut that off. And again, you just want to tuck that in. So don't forget to, I'll come back to that. That's going to take a little while for me to tuck in. But there we are. That is the finished amulet. You've got your hanging cord there ready. So that is your demon dispelling amulet. I hope you've been successful. I hope that the instructions have been clear. I can provide something on paper if you feel that would be easier to follow than the video instructions. Some people find that easier. I thought you might like to see some other designs that are a possibility. This one is a simple one with the colours of the psychic channels, red, white and blue. This one is a mandala design, so you could do a similar thing to this, put the green in the centre and pop the blue out to where the green is to make the focus of your mandala or your kilko, make that the air element. So that's another one. This is a Yungdrung. And on the other side it's got an eternal knot. It's quite nice when you get a pattern of blocks of thread that happen to mean that you can do a different design on the other side. This is another form of eternal knot. This is probably the most complicated one that I've ever made or ever seen. This was taken from an amulet I bought in Nepal, and I managed to work out how it is woven. I've never taken an amulet apart because that feels a disrespectful and inappropriate thing to do. So I've always worked them out just by studying them. And then I have a couple of my own designs. This is a Yeshe Tsogyot star and the Dzogchen syllable A. So those are ones that I've worked out for myself. So I hope you like the amulet, and I hope you've enjoyed making it, and I hope that the mantra that you have imbued into the creation of your amulet will be of benefit to everyone and everywhere in this time we're living in with the pandemic. Thank you very much for joining me, and goodbye.